a joy to see happy face when you finish. Because you are so stern, so concentrated, patterns, positions, anticipation, shifting, preparing, counting, keeping concentration from slipping away. That was really good. Can I ask you when you started learning this?
I think
That far?
March.
March.
Yeah.
So you feel like it was easy to learn because of patterns?
Yeah. I think
Isn't
that was
it?
a big part of it.
Yeah? And finger memory? I noticed that when you play the octaves in the left hand, like at the end, and through actually, you play them with dropping of the wrists towards the palm, and then you have this sort of the wrist that sticks up, and then you play like this. Is it because the octaves are too large for your hand?
A little bit. There's a bit of a stretch.
Yeah, I think from experience that such is the impression, but the reality is that the sound quality of octaves, staccato, it's always better when you use the wrist. Now, how do we play clean octaves from the wrist? Because if we use the wrist, it's very unclean. And the reason for which I notice that you keep the imprint of the octave in the stiffer wrist is because this way you keep the octave imprint, correct? Have you tried to lift the wrist and drop on the next octave? Can we try slowly? So there is no need to play forte, both hands, when it's forte. It's just the cumulative effect that creates the forte of the two hands. So I think the most important thing is to focus in order to play the octaves with the wrist in terms of having a sound that is not constantly sharp. Sometimes it's very good because the piece is very effective in the sharp sound, but some of the octaves can be less brassy. I think it's important to play the fingers on the keys and then scratch, squeeze, as if you close, and while you close, you lift the wrist. Exactly. But you don't stay in the air with the wrist. You go to the next. You use the momentum of the first, and you rebound on the second, like you do on a trampoline. In other words, you don't stay in the air. You re-drop immediately. But you don't start from the air, you start from the key. As if you lift, like you squeeze the C and A when you play BB. No, squeeze. Scratch, squeeze. Like you have to feel it, 5 and 1. The edges of the other keys of this. As if you literally try to squeeze it. And then at the same time lift, and then drop with exactly the momentum of the first. Yes. Now that doesn't work if you want to play actively forte, because then you have to drop and go. That's what you were doing. I think you should reserve it for some sections of the piece, but not necessarily through. Because the piece is based on percussive toccata effect, which is obvious to everybody. No? There's no B-section. It's constantly perpetual motion, all that, And so I think that's one element of sound quality that allows you to have necessarily, of course, when you play this you'll play like you do, because that needs to give the accents on each eighth note. That's one thing about sound quality that you can have more variety of. But I know people are afraid to use the octave with the wrist because in the air you close the fingers, right? So there's one way to practice this is to play the octave and staccato only the fifth finger. Yes, oh, yeah. And then the thumb. No, but the thumb from the side knuckle, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And then a little bit like lobsters, like lift 5 and 1 in the air, and then drop and lift. But not with the wrist, just the finger, even if it's very soft. Yes. And then, yes. You see? That's why I always come from the key itself. I don't drop to fall to play. I extract it from the key. This way I have the precision of the note because I touch before I play. I know it appears a bit more complex than to just... But in fact, once you get used to this touch play and not play landing on the note. You don't play before you've touched. Now when it goes very fast tempo, it's not the same, right? But still, here it's every 2 notes because in the right hand you have alternation, right? And can I see how you organize the 2 hands, thumbs, when you play the piece in terms of combining and voicing the thumbs of the 2 hands? For instance, sorry. Yeah, I want to hear more the thumb of both hands. So here, combined of the 2 is an inner engine. While I hear, you see what I mean? Because I know it's percussive, but nevertheless there is some direction of patterns. For instance, in the very opening, you have to play this here, no? Which do you follow? E, D, G sharp, D sharp, G sharp? Or which one do you want to bring out? Or is it comes?
I think it's as it goes.
So if you focus on the bottom part, can you bring us that? And then the chromaticism. So it's beyond the choice of voicing, because it can be very much to the liking of a different performer. There is no indication what to bring out or not. It's a play of combination of the 2 hands. But I still think that the indication of the staccato on each first should be different from the articulation of... I don't think it should be glued. Like... because that in the tempo wouldn't work. What is the tempo again? Can you play? Here is the Beethoven Sonata, Opus 110. Where there is an indication of staccato, and these not. Like, but with 1 hand. Musicologists assume it's an accent in Beethoven, but Nonetheless, here there is no accent. So I think the organic combination of the two hands is what makes it very interesting. It's like you're sewing. And especially so when this kind of combination of the two hands has little bit of a melodic line. I noticed that you like to bring it out. Is it because of the left hand crossing and we don't hear the high note? Or you play both with the right hand?
I play with my left hand.
Mm-hmm. And you do what, 2 or 3? When you cross? 2. Is it possible that you lift the B F sharp earlier with the pedal, and you position yourself on the D while you play the A? Again, touch before you play. You play like this. I want you to play. Of course, the problem is that the right hand has to play the 16th note with lower wrist, because the left hand crosses over. So there's one option is to cross over with the open elbow. So you do, which allows the right hand to play without to be squeezed on the, because it's difficult to articulate when you play like this. If you were to play the right hand without the left hand crossing, would you do this? Or would you do this? So if you do, too slow in the shifting. In fact, the reason is because you shift with the tempo. So you do the choreographic, and in a way, the gesture determines the space between the beats. So you don't have to count, because the fingers play 16th notes, so it's like a metronome in the fingers. But if you were to shift earlier, then you have to count, because if not you'll play there too early. But you need to play precisely when it comes, but as if you're over it already. As if you have 3 hands. That was the same problem I had last night. Because and the thumb is always the shortest finger. You have to go fetch this note down there. So you have to go. It's easier to do with 2, but not practical. So in other words, very often when we shift and we cross, then we have to plan a lot about anticipation and do. It's unnatural in the beginning, right? But it gives you one other great advantage technically, is that you can control the type of color of sound you want to do. Instead of dropping in whatever, as long as it's clean. Oh, it's the right note. Oh, it's the right note. Oh, good. It's clean. No, it's true. We always want to play clean. But this allows you to prepare what type of sound you want, since you can touch it before you play it, as if you were doing this. And somebody in third hand plays. That's why I insist on shifting faster than the tempo, in order to have more choice of, again, sound, color, and palette that you can organize according to, is it sometimes the instrument calls, right? Do you practice at home on an upright?
No, on a baby grand.
Baby grand. And so when you play on this Italian very fast action, does it feel very comfortable? Really?
Yeah.
It's interesting because all my students always tell me this is light and even. I guess compared to others, pianos, I mean. So it's a bit heavy. Do you want to try on this?
Sure.
Because I think that this might be heavy. Just the beginning. If you feel like the action responds better to you.
Yeah, I think this one's a little bit more lighter.
Lighter. Oh, I know why. Because you don't need to play deep in this one. They don't have the same setting for the placement of the second escapement. You know the escapement? The click?
Oh, yeah.
The click is very deep here. And so you try to, it's like when you drive a car and all of a sudden the brake, you have to push so far to even stop, and the other one goes. In fact, it's lighter if you play it from close up. I think you're trying desperately to play dynamically loud and fast. I think it's not loud, it's busy and fast. And because of the busyness of it, it becomes loud with the acoustics and the resonance, but not the individual. I mean, it's not a criticism, it's just that you have to also plan better how to organize your energy through the piece. So you pick the places where you have the real peaks where you need to be, like, for instance, or even this, what do you play of the same style? Do you play the Toccata by Ravel?
No, I haven't.
Or the Prokofiev Toccata? Is that your first Toccata? Interesting. And what do you enjoy particularly when you play that you want the audience to enjoy or to catch from your playing?
I think there's some like really pretty phrases in there, like in between all the really busy.
Which is the pretty phrase you want to show us?
Like
Mhm.
that one.
Yes, I noticed that when you like a place, you slow down, which is so natural. On the other hand, I noticed that the publisher has given relatively scarce pedaling markings. And I noticed that you put pedal to make sure that it sounds resonant. And yes, you took away the pedal in the bars off, like here. But I find that in some of them where the pedal is half of the bar or 2/3 of the bar, you keep it a little longer. And this is in this room, which is surgically dry acoustically, compared to the resonance in recital hall in this school. I don't know if you know it. Oh? It's the hall where without pedal it sounds you over pedal. Because it's so resonant. And this is very dry in comparison. So that's why I was saying, I was observing your, like, I personally would not keep it on the second beat at all. And let the resonance take care of it. But it's partly to do with the right hand, no? Can you try? Anywhere you want. So what I suggest to do on the beats without pedal, which is the third beats, right? do finger pedal. You see what I mean? So you do this. Is that the right notes? Yes. By holding them over. Exactly. So the pedal for the two first beats is written. Instead of. Are we betraying his expectations? I think the highest notes have the least length of resonance. And so if you hear, it sounds like you're playing staccato, the third beat. But if you do finger legato, you take off the pedal, then you, as written, then you have still a connection. And then have you ever played finger pedal? When you overstay on the fingers.
Oh, yeah.
Like you jam with the fingers, and then you start playing. Don't do that on your baby grand. Stick your fingers. Because we're taught to lift the fingers to have articulation. Right? But I still think that in this kind of flow, the third beat is to avoid the harmonization to overstay. So if you overhold them, it will compensate while still not be wet, but it won't be bony dry. Is there another section that you prefer? Is it this?
Oh, yeah, that part too.
Les joyeuses moment. Do you want to play a little bit around there?
Yeah.
Somewhere you want. You can. Mm-hmm. So in fact, your tremolo is in the speed of the 60th notes, no? I think it should be more. Can you try? No. In order to play faster, more notes, you don't want to play deep in the keys. You will play immediately. You play on the surface of the keys. To have more notes play in less time. Yeah. Again, because you try to play loud, you play deep, so it takes a longer time. So you only play 4 instead of 8. Yeah, it's the again, accumulation with the pedal that gives the resonance of the forte. So from here, yeah, you're afraid to play the second beat accented, no? How many of you had fun watching me do this? Thank you. How many thought it was vulgar? Oh, come on. It's got to be many. Is he really doing that? And I was thinking about this. Are you daring? But don't go deep, just on the edge. My God, he's making me play with my fists. But on the other hand, probably you do this, no? Or you do 1, 2, right? Or 2, 1. 2, 3. That's why it's written 1, 2. I'm sorry, I assume. Have you tried thumb across? Anything that can make a difference between the... Oh, Oh, sorry. Because here it's tremolo, sextuplet, and eighth note, right? And even if you're slightly longer on the first beat to play more notes, I don't think it will be a problem. Even if, of course, we need to respect the tempo, the rhythm, the patterns. There's one thing I wanted to ask you is, in your opinion, where is the climax? Is it here? Or is it here? It should be, remember? Yeah. But usually the climax is up. And you have it 4 or 5 bars before the end. I think it should have ended there. And then you have it. Okay, one more. And finally you finish down. Again, like L'île Joyeuse. You know L'île Joyeuse? No? By Debussy? Obviously, Bowen knew it too. But the point is that it's a very effective thing to finish down, but it's anticlimactic. Like yesterday, the end of my first movement. But I find that most composers finish down after they reach the high note. So that's why I was wondering if that was something that you took in account. Food for thought, huh? Climax up, climax down. Congratulations! Thank you. Oh, you come with a score. Thank you so much. I thought you brought water.
Oh, there's one.
I brought it myself, but you're very thoughtful. Thank you. I appreciate it, Elizabeth.
Hello, I'm Yuhan.
It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
So would you like to play for us? The Liszt?
Sure.
Do you need to adjust the bench?
Let me try this.
Do you know how to adjust it? Because it's tricky.
Yes, accounts are topic.
Okay, so why don't we do this? You sit and I'll adjust it.
Okay.
Do you want it lower or higher from this?
Higher.
Okay, let's try. Is that too high? Yes. What about this? Too low.
Yeah, just a bit.
What about this? Eh? Not high enough. Right.
Maybe a bit.
A bit higher. Do you know what it means?
Liebestraum?
No, poetic.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
What?
Like you put a lot of feeling into it, or like.
That would be romantic.
Right.
Ah, poetic. It's to do with the fact that what you hear, like the words you say, and all of a sudden the common words placed in the poem become chosen words that can mean that and other things. So there's a music to the words compared to prose, which is also chosen words, but in poem we have to arrange them a certain way, and then all of a sudden it makes you think about how it's said, the syntax. And I noticed that the two cadenzas that you have, and the first one, are like your two main points of the piece.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well that is good, but now, and I would like you to integrate it in the narrative statement.
Okay.
For instance, for the second one, can I ask you to play for me the right hand holding the thirds in the legato without pedal? Yes. And now I want you to hold as most as possible, two at a time. Depending on the fingering. No, hold the CE over the B D sharp. No, hold it. No, hold it. Like this. And then,
Oh, okay.
like overhold.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, sorry. I know it's stressful in studio class to react to what the teacher says because everybody listens. It's already difficult enough in lesson. So the idea is that in the left hand you have the other ones. Can we hear the left hand? Oh, I thought it's G B flat, no? No? Yes, and then, oh, I see what you do. 1, 2, and then 2, 3, 3, 2. Is that what you do?
I do 2.
Oh, 4, 2.
Yeah.
Go ahead. So this might not work, but my point was that I wanted you also to get to play hold and poke. Can you try? Yes. Yes. Okay. It's true that this fingering doesn't allow that. He's a left hand as well, right?
Yeah.
But the purpose of it is also to combine the flow of the chromatic descending tritones. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? These are the tritones.
Oh, okay.
And then supposed to sound like a pearl necklace that is broken and thrown on the marble staircase. And so I would imagine that it can help if one of the two hands holds the fingers, like the right hand, and then because of the fingering, the left hand will be more articulated. Because you want to hear clarity and a certain combination of sounds. I always like when pianists play this section because they seem amazed by what they do. The first 2 or 3 are very well organized. because you can follow them. And then all of a sudden, I got it. I was like, okay. But in fact, the problem with this two, and the first one is different because it has the double stops in the right hand, right? Sorry. Have you tried to do an arrangement? Like you take 3 in the right hand and 3 in the left hand, 3 in the right hand, 3 in the left hand. That's confusing, right? On the spot it's confusing. You see, if you take this chord together in the right hand, and then the next chord in the left hand. So you alternate them.
Oh, okay.
Like, if you play the first chord in the right hand, like this, in the right hand, and then the left hand plays, yes, and then the next is the right hand, A flat C, and then the left hand. It doesn't work for the first two. It starts from the second two. Yes, and then 3 again. A flat, D flat, yes, exactly. And then G, D flat, E flat. Yeah. If you do that, it works better with 5-4-2, like this. It's something to explore in practice room and go, really? The only advantage of it is that it's more organically connected between the two hands. You don't have the two and one. Of course you have the pedal, right?
So is this sort of like this part here?
Like this?
Is it sort of like now? You were trying to set something up.
I was thinking that it's an alternative way to approach the distribution of the hands. And the only reason I suggest it is because I want you to play this, even if they're fast grace notes, I wish them to be singing connected. Because you see it written by 2, down, 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 l'appoggiatura resolution. So it becomes a little bit chopped. And I want it to be more organized as if it's in a flow. I mean, it's not necessarily easier, it just is more connected. But again, you can argue, why didn't Liszt write it in that distribution, right? He wrote it with 2 in one hand and single in the other. For me, it's the major difference between notation and intent. And I think the composers, especially like Liszt or a pianist themselves, they notate it according to how it falls under their fingers, but it's not necessarily the only way. Now, regarding the lyrical aspect of the piece, you did a beautiful job, a poetic job, I mean. And in order to melodically bring out the thumb, as you did, mostly, the tutti parti tu, tutti parti tu, tutti parti tu, tu for parti tu. You had to delay them in order to get the resonance started in the melody, and then, in other words, you don't want to play so late the group of the 5/8 notes after the 8 note rest. You want to play here and not. because you need first to find the sound of the melodic line on the thumb, right?
Yeah.
And then make sure that the 2-3-5-3-2 or 2-4-5-4-2. Mi, la, do, la, mi. What do you do?
Yeah.
With 4?
Yeah.
Good. So, have you practiced it legato for the melody and staccato for the arpeggios?
No, I should try that.
Like this. Can you scratch from the tip of the knuckle, the one that is next to the tip of the finger, right? And just as if you scratch it or pick cherries. Yes. It's the Ave Maria by Schubert, but it's in slower pattern than this. I was thinking when you were playing, how can I help her to enhance the melodic length of the sound of the melodic line, which inevitably decays by the essence of the instrument, unless you do. Obviously, he knew it too. And so the idea is to play these individually shaped, as you did beautifully, but not delayed and not as loud as the melody. Which means that you have to accept that dolce cantabile, the cantabile is not dolce. It's like a louder stop on the organ, so it can stay until the end of the whole bar without it decay too early. And then the dolce would be this. So you have to establish the levels of the voicing. You could argue why he didn't write this. It would be so easier to teach. Because you hear these little resonant bell harp sounds, and the melody is separated. But when it's combined, you hit ta-ra-ra-dee-dee-dee and ta at the same time. Which is why you delayed the eighth note, right? And then, but I think it's important to have the flow of the sextuplets, even if the first eighth note is a rest. So don't play too late, but play softer. See, with the pedal I do this. I don't try to sing legato the accompaniment. I let it happen like pizzicato resonant. You do a very interesting thing. Is it what you were taught or what you thought you should do for the bass note to play before the melody? Or the opposite? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
You don't play? Were you asked to do that?
no, I don't think so.
So you did it by yourself?
Yeah.
Because this way you isolate the melody and from the accompaniment. accompaniment which has an 8th note rest anyway, and the bass note which plays with the first beat. So by playing it before the melody, and you play the accompaniment after the melody, it's like you assign everybody a space. You before, me in the middle, and you after. Which is what I was imagining if it was. If you want to do this kind of organ style spreading of the layers of the melodic soundscape. But here they're combined. I think the hardest is when he crosses over the accompaniment from the melodic note. When he goes up a fourth, but the accompaniment goes down, right? So we end up by hearing as a combination, not as an intent. Can you bring us once the melodic line as a trombone? It's a laboratory, not for the performance. Because it's necessarily not a trombone singing it. And then the right hand, harp. And the bass, pizzicato. Exaggeratedly louder. And softer like this. Sometimes it's fun to try something in practicing that is exaggerated before we find the right levels. And so, from this exercise, we reach the point of the delay decay because you play louder the half note, dotted half note. The question comes up, what do we do at the end of the decaying long value? How do we play the next one? We do? Because if you play the next note at the level of the decay of the preceding note, then you'll do this. And you cannot play under water because of plop, 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 they're too loud. It's a way to defeat the decay of the sound in his writing, no? Imagine if he wrote it on the pinky. Again, it would be more clear who is accompaniment, who is melody. But because they are combined within the same octave, can you follow what you do with the next long note after the decay of the first long note? For instance, the first note does. How do you replay the second C? That's the first, okay? So you replay to the same level as the first was played. Because you have. I want to do. It's imitating voice singing has syllables. So not all the syllables are equal according to the meaning. I so want to tell you something or whatever. And so when we listen to a sung voice, we don't hear the repeated notes because we hear the different words or syllables. So we get by the meaning of the words. But here there are no words. So we just hear the ta, ta, ta. That's why I would suggest to do. And then pick up here. Because with the quarter note, you can pick up the energy since it's less decay, sorry. If not, he would have done the opposite. So he chooses which to be the long, which to be the short, according to the melodic line and the imagined or suggested syllables. How do you consider the pedal? Oh! Why did I open this can of worms? I'm sorry, but you spoke softer than you played. What did you say?
I think I followed the sheet music.
The sheet music, yes, I understand. But I'm saying, according to the acoustics, the instrument today now, it's not just the fact of the score, it's how you hear it here in the resonance. Can you try with more pedal and less pedal to see different options? Do you think that Liszt had 3 pedals? So why did he write it as if he did? Or 3 hands, no? Because when you change the pedal, you lose the bass. And he places the pedal on the score, at least the publisher, through the bar. In which case you hold the A flat with the foot. The other option is what you did, which is to take it off in the middle of the bar. That's why I was saying if Liszt had the middle pedal, and then that is a very fact that a lot of romantic early 20th century piano music seems written for more than 2 hands in terms of holding and not holding. But they didn't have the middle pedal. So they have to make that choice which you did to either lose the bass, keep the melody, or keep the melody but then the bass, but then the melody decays. No? I say that, I don't think I convince you. Play it again like you did with changing the pedal in the second half of the bar. Change. So we have the bass, and then we don't have the bass. Oh, now you hold it. Aha. That's why he replays it when he does, but he doesn't replace it here. Page Turner does it well too. Just to play and hold it. No, because that's something that I've always found very interesting, that they write music for the piano, through the piano, to evoke voice, to evoke poetry, to evoke orchestra, to evoke anything, but not really pianistically practical, because it goes against the nature of the instrument. The long values decay, the short values are louder, and here they're supposed to be softer. In orchestration, if the melody is in the harp and this is the trumpet, it doesn't work. So the orchestration has to find the instruments that hold the sound, like let's say, I don't know, a cello, or in this case it can be a wind instrument, like clarinet. but then the accompaniment has to be softer. So it will be softer sounds. So therefore the orchestration determines the levels and the layers. But the pianist doesn't have that. So you have to make a choice. Included the option to use the middle pedal, which will make you will think that it's cheating. Have you ever used the middle pedal? At all?
I don't think so. Not really.
So it's a paradox that you have it, but you don't use it. He composed for it, but he didn't have it. So we are stuck in the middle between the intent and the notation.
Should I try it?
The instruments of the past had less long decay. So very often when you see this long pedal for the bar, it meant I don't want it to be dry. Because the instruments in his time didn't hold in this tempo the whole bar, but then they played faster. Oh, that works. Have you ever heard recordings of pianists from before World War I? No. They play everything fast. Because the time to record was only a few minutes, so they had to fit it in. And you go like, my God, why do they play so fast? It's just like the presidents of the United States don't smile until photography. Because in painting, in early photography, they had to pose 10 minutes without to move, so they all were serious. But when photography became easy, fast shutter, then all of a sudden you had presidents going, And I think the same with the pedal. We're used to it because I personally don't think it's necessarily better to use the middle pedal. It's just that it, in a way, it enhances exactly what is in the notation. But of course, the problem is to choose or not to play it according to the modern instruments options, because he didn't have it on his. I feel like these questions are putting asleep your friends. It's not a very interesting topic when you don't play it yourself, right? But I really appreciated your poetry and your beautiful playing. Congratulations. Who plays the Fanny Mendelssohn? You do.
Max is playing the September from Fanny Mendelssohn's.
The year. The two of us have a tie.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that neat?
Yeah.
Good. So, would you like to play first, and then I'll tell you something? You play all of them, or just September today?
Just September.
But the other ones is not learned yet.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, the bench. Do you need higher?
I think it's, yeah, I think it's
Higher?
Yeah.
Try it, because you tell me.
Yeah, this is,
Is it good?
yes.
Good. amazingly wonderful to have a perfect pitch?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. When I was your age, I played the second partita for an old teacher called Naoumoff. And after I finished, he said, well, that's perfect, and that was it. In Masterclass. And then 4 years later, he came to give another Masterclass. I was playing Tchaikovsky concerto, and he shred me to pieces. And then I asked him, do you remember 4 years ago, you heard a child play the second partita by Bach? He said, what happened to him? And the reason I mention this is because there is something very obvious in your playing, that is, you enjoy playing. Regardless of how it sounds, you enjoy the action of playing. Because your ear guides you like a GPS in the middle of the fog, and your fingers respond to your guiding of the ear. Especially when the harmonizations are complicated. Do you play them by ear?
Sometimes.
Like when you play today now?
Yeah.
Or do you think diminished seventh on E sharp, modulation in F sharp?
No, I play them by ear.
Take the second left in F sharp. No, that's the GPS, of course. Because I feel like you have practiced this for a long time, no?
Yeah, kind of.
A week?
No.
Oh, 2 days.
No. Like,
A month.
it's little more long, like longer.
A year.
I know, sure.
You don't remember.
No, it's like 3 to 4 months.
But it seems like you've always played it. No?
No.
Really?
Yeah, I've only been playing this for like 3 to 4 months.
Yeah, and before that you didn't know the piece at all?
No.
And now you play it as if you composed it. Without, whatever that means, right?
Yeah.
Which you don't know what it means. Like as if you make it up,
Oh, yes.
instead of playing his notes. You do that?
No.
Not supposed to. We're here to serve him. Her. Excuse me. There are too many hymns, that's why I got into the hymns. Her. A question. How do you choose the tempo when you start today? Is it the action of the keyboard? Is it the acoustic? Do you have any different options? Like you could play, I don't know, or how do you determine the pulse and the resonance and all that?
Like by how the piece sounds,
And how does it sound?
like a river.
Like a river. And do you hear it without pedal?
Yeah.
It's like a desert?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought so too. So what do you do with the pedal? You keep the bass when you have to play the melody?
Yeah.
And I see the pedal markings on the score by the teacher, but not by the publisher, right?
Yeah.
What do you think you want to bring out?
The like top note.
Mm-hmm. Can you play it continuously? And then? Yes? So why do you think she repeats the first two? No, this. And then step motion.
Yeah.
Do you know why?
No.
Why is not? Sorry. Of course, we don't choose, they chose before us, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's a very interesting fact that when you have the step motion, You hear the melodic line, I wish, why not?
Yeah.
And these, on the piano, sound repeated notes. But in fact, it's within the resonance. Can you attempt? It's tricky, but I know you can try. I'm sure you can. To play the first, and then when you lift to play the second, same. You lift halfway up, and you replay quickly deep inside before the sound dies. Not ta-ta, but ta-ha. No? Mm. Yes. Yes. No. Yes. Not bad. Yes, that's half of it. So you realize that the problem is that they don't respond like you want. So, especially in this case, I would like you to place straight fingers from the knuckle. Yes. And then let the weight, lighten the weight, so let the keys lift you by putting less weight on the wrist. And then before the sound dies, drop quickly. Yes. I want to hear this. And not? Yes. So the question of the wrist comes in play, because if you do down wrist, up wrist, it doesn't work. You have to have up wrist and just drop again, but inside the resonance. Because if you play fast down, it's going to be loud. But if you play fast down without the weight, you have the prolonging of the sound. Yes. It's the illusion that you sing melodically repeated notes.
Yeah.
Because they give you what they choose. And when is this? Or here? You have D, C, B, very melodic, and you repeat the B.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear it repeated, I want to hear it extended. And not? No? Yes. I know it's difficult, especially with the other things going on. That was better before. See, I could say it's okay, but I'm not. Because I want you to search into until your ear and the tip of your finger respond to each other in mirror sort. And not? Until your melodic repeated notes are as lyrically sung as your step motion lyrical notes. And not? You're afraid you won't repeat, right?
Yeah.
Me too. That's why it's a question of dosage. When you lift it, at which point it's almost dead. And then you replay, you re-drop halfway in. So you prolong it. I reassure you, most pianists don't use that. Because it's way too risky. Oh my God, the action of the piano. Not all the notes are even. The only reason I suggest it to you is because I noticed that your guiding ear can guide your finger to find that sound. Do you think that she didn't know that repeated notes are not melodic? On the piano.
I think
So then she should have written. Repeated note is part of the expression, anticipation, appoggiatura, change of syllable. In other words, yes. Are you surprised at me asking you that today?
No.
You thought always of repeating it halfway?
Oh, I know.
No, because you're afraid that he won't speak at all. After all, I followed what Mr. Naoumoff said and I sound. So it's wrong to be tied and it's wrong to be repeated fully. Yes. Accompaniment in the right hand. If you look at the pattern you have on the way up an arpeggio, and then on the way down, step motion with a passing tone. If it was you would have this full pedal, but because on the way down is step motion, you cannot keep, shouldn't keep, might not keep, ought to perhaps use a quarter half pedal, replay within the resonance. Just saying it sounds so silly. Myself, I hear it when I say it, so. You know, in this, opening, it's unplayable because it's meant to be a dominant ninth, or at least a second degree in a dominant, and then passing tones. So French horns hold this, and then you play. But we didn't have a middle pedal, so in order to keep it all, we have a blur. Good. But he didn't write. In the same way here, she didn't write. So now I reach again to the pop option for that, to take off the pedal, or at least half of the pedal off, and finger pedal this. She could play it herself.
Yeah.
I visited the museum of Mendelssohn's, in the house of Mendelssohn's in Leipzig in Germany, and they had the floor for Fanny in the house. And the fortepiano that is there sounded like we don't have this sound of the modern piano. So I wonder if the length of sound is to do with this kind of very clear, light, short tones. And perhaps they put long pedals, but they didn't cover as much as today. So if they put a long pedal, they still hear this clear. It's always about finding the clarity and the resonance, the blur and the precision. It's a question of course, the acoustics change a lot. Do you practice on an upright?
No.
At home?
No, on a grand, I think.
You think?
Yeah.
It's not obvious?
No, grand won't be happening.
Meaning it's not an upright.
Yeah.
Because the action of the upright is very different from the baby grands, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And what is your favorite section in the piece. The one you really like. And why does she repeat every sentence?
To make it to make each different from each other.
No. I mean, I pretend to know, but she didn't tell me. I think it's in the tenderness of the expression, it would be for me a term of endearment. Oh, my dear, would you like to go to a walk, What is it?
Echo.
Hmm?
An echo.
An echo, that's an option, yeah. But not necessarily. You could also speak louder the second one.
Yeah.
Can you replay that section that is your favorite? So can you play it without to repeat that pattern and just go directly on? And without this too? And that also. You see, so much is in the repetitivity, which is part of the expression of the melodic line. And when we try to take it out, we realize that there's very little left.
Yeah.
And again, it's imitation of voice, like art song with accompaniment. And all these repetitivities of patterns, of melodic patterns, are to do with the text. I would like to tell you how much I would like to. And you hear, oh, what to what? So you listen to the meaning rather than to the sounds. On the piano, you don't have the meaning, you only have the sounds.
Yeah.
I think it would be a fun exercise to try to practice it, just to practice by yourself, without any of these. And see how much of the piece is in a continuous narrative storyline, without the repetitivity that is in the score. And then you play it like it's written, of course, when you perform it. Do you imagine words when you sing it, when you play it?
Not really words, but
No?
like pictures.
No, pictures, I understand the mood that you do very well. I speak imaginary words as syllables.
Oh, I don't really imagine.
No?
No.
Do you solfege?
Wait.
Like, do you speak the notes? Ah, la, sol, fa, mi, re, like the notes when you
Yeah.
play. Or do you say A, G, F, E, D?
Like something.
Bum, bum.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, if you name the notes, do you name them do, re, mi, fa, sol, or do you name them C, D, E, F, G?
Do, re, mi, fa, sol.
Okay, so then can you sing me the beginning? The melodic part, obviously, not the 16th notes. Sol, fa. No?
Wait, no, not so.
Fa, re, do, si, si, la, no?
No, I actually, no, D, C.
Oh, so you do use the English. F, D, C, D, D, A. That's what I wanted to say. Say it.
F, D, C, B, B.
Yeah, but keep the length of the resonance. F, D, C, D, B, A. Even if you don't sing pitches, just the length.
F,
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 D, C, B, A.
Right.
I want you to not only imagine a voice, but to sing it to yourself when you practice. And when you perform it, singing, people will say, wow, up to good. You know good?
Yeah.
He hums when he plays. Sometimes louder than he plays. And it's all because of that obsession with the decay of the piano sound. We want to, vibrato singing connects our instrumental wind, but the string instrument, as soon as you play it, it doesn't sound as dry, but we have to always fight the decay of the long resonance for the melody. Congratulations!